Welcome to Mindful Me. I'm your host, Dr. Marga, family medicine physician and life coach practicing medical aesthetics and wellness based in Greater Boston in Wellesley and Needham. This health and wellness show was born out of the needs I saw as a medical doctor. People are curious and are even demanding information and options on how to get healthier, and more importantly, how do we improve our quality of life? And quality of life is simply, how do I feel good from moment to moment, minute to minute, hour to hour, and day to day? It is my goal to highlight to you, our viewers at home, the knowledge and experience of various experts from both mainstream and complementary disciplines to inspire action in our communities and in the areas of self-care and self-development physically, mentally, and energetically. Today we have Sherri Crowley. Sherri specializes in blending solution-focused techniques, cognitive behavioral approaches, and coaching with mindfulness and mind-body practices. This holistic approach ensures that the positive changes that you cultivate lead to lasting transformation. As Sherri would say, sometimes all it takes is a fresh perspective to untangle the complexities of life. All the resources are inside of you. And so, when you access that, she says that you get greater clarity and fulfillment in reclaiming your joy in life. There is an overwhelm that exists in most of us, parents, executives, and she is an assistant to managing those exhausting tasks. And making those phone calls are just too much sometimes. So she actually helps with navigating that whole system, from the insurance to the schedule and everything else. And that approach is direct and personalized. But today, Sherri, we will get to know her better for Stories of Self-Care with Sherri Crowley. Welcome!
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here.
I'm excited to be here.
I've talked to you outside of the show, and I just felt like you bring such a fresh energy. Let me look at the color you're wearing. So fresh and vibrant. And that energy, I think, is what is important in a professional like you, who people approach. But I think more than that, getting to know you as a person, that's why I thought of you for Stories of Self-Care, because you've been an open book to me. And this is how the show works, really. I feel that the message we come up with today, there's somebody out there who could use to hear that message, that advice, that counsel, that next step. So I think the best place to start is to tell me, why did you choose to go about this particular life mission?
So I can go all the way back. I became a therapist. Truthfully, I'll start there,
Yes.
but I'll do that part quickly. I've been a therapist for 18 years. I was working as a marketing assistant, actually at Sesame Street some point.
Oh, wow.
And we had this meeting. It was a very poignant moment. We had this meeting where I looked around the table. My bosses had all been there a few, 10, 15 years. My colleagues had been there a long time. And I looked around the table. We were talking at length about what time the show aired in Thailand. And I looked around the table, and everyone was this was like an hour-long discussion. I looked around the table, and I honestly did not care what time it aired for an hour. I did care for the first 5 minutes. And I thought about, wait a minute, everyone else does care. So what does this mean? It means maybe, what do I care about? And I really thought, I don't have any special, I thought at the time, I said, I don't have any special talents. I'm talented with people. I was always very good and enjoyed connecting with people and connecting people to each other, and just that I'm good at. That's my talent. My superpower is interpersonal connections and relationships. But I don't sing, I love to dance, and I'm a good dancer, but I'm not a professional, it wasn't like a talent. And so I thought, what what do I'm good at is that, and what do I like? I'm like, I really like hanging out and talking with people. And you know, I had therapists in my family, and I was like, okay, I'll become a therapist, and went that way. Over the course of the years, I got very, very burnt out. And one of my specialties in work with clients, much of my work is with overwhelmed, burnt out executives, women, both in my therapy business and in my other business, my concierge business. And the specialties in my therapy business are burnout, ADHD, substance use or sobriety, or moderating substance use stuff. These are all things that I have been through, understand, you know, open book wise. You know, I've been in recovery from alcohol and drugs for 26 years.
Wow.
Since I was 19 years old, I got burnt out. I have ADHD, all the things, and I manage these things. And the things I suggest to my clients are all things I actively have done, or actively do, or have done. I know it's just not coming out of, it's professional. I have a lot of clinical training and experience, but I think there's a real personal aspect. I get these things that I specialize in.
Definitely.
So the burnout, am I going on and on?
No, go ahead. I'm all ears. Go ahead.
So the burnout kind of also came to a head a number of years ago. I was working for about 7 years. I worked in student mental health at some of the universities, and I was working for almost 5 years at one of the top universities in the world here. And during COVID, our utilization rates went from like 20% of the population to about 40%.
Wow.
And I was doing, I didn't, in retrospect, right, I said, there was points where I said, you know, do you think we could get another person? Like, but I wasn't like concrete of like, if we don't get this, I didn't set a concrete boundary of like, I'm not going to be able to stay here if we don't get a concrete person. I got, in the burnout, all the symptoms that go with it. You know, I was irritable and crying, and at home I was very not present. Like my family would be downstairs waiting for me for dinner. I'd never show up because I was making calls and talking to students, and at like 9 o'clock at night. Like it was not, I wasn't present for my family. When I was with them, I have 3 young boys and my husband. I wasn't present with them. When I was there physically in the room with them, I was either crying or irritable and yelling, and it was not fun. I wasn't a fun person to be around, and I just didn't have the energy to do anything. All I wanted to do was stay in bed, but I didn't, and I pushed myself through because that's what we do as women, as workers, as et cetera, et cetera. So sorry.
So I feel like this is a real good guidance for people who need to screen themselves for burnout. More on that when we continue.
Yes.
Imagine always being front row to plays like this.
Ollie comes up with it. Up front, have it go.
Yeah! Woo! Or this. And even this.
Rothmeister gets the corner, and he gets around the whole corner. And Matt, he could go all the way.
Being able to capture high school sports at their highest level.
And the Rockets are going to win it. Oh,
Chmielewski under it, and the Rockets are state champions! The Needham Rockets have done it again! A three-peat!
Here at the Needham channel, you can do all of those things and more. Plus, we definitely have our fun here too. Interested? We'd love to hear from you. Send us an email at sports@needhamchannel.org or visit our website needhamchannel.org for more information.
Welcome back to Mindful Me with Dr. Marga. we are in a discussion with Sherri Crowley as she unveils how she did the recovery from her burnout. Tell us again. Bring us to the moment, Sherri. Go ahead.
So yes, so this moment was, I was in my office and my colleagues were walking in and they'd say, "Hi, Sherri," and I burst into tears. Well, one day I'm supposed to go give a presentation to one of the graduate dorms about stress management. And I thought, how the hell am I going to give a presentation to these people about stress management when I can't even manage my own stress? And I also, by the way, subsequently passed out in my office, not in that moment, but it made me sick. There's no separation, as you know, I'm sure better than anyone, between mind, body, and spiritual fitness. And I don't mean religion, I mean like emotions. Well, it's all one piece. You can't separate them. Emotions are physiological. There's no separation. So I got very sick. I had all these digestive issues. Anyway, I took a leave of absence. I subsequently ended up moving to a position of 10 months a year. And then this past January, I left university, academia, higher education, and I moved into my own private practice again, which I had 10 years ago also. And that has been it's given me the freedom, the flexibility, and that's a huge part of burnout, healing from burnout. It's interesting, my other specialty is ADHD. So, they all have very similar, in terms of how to heal, how to manage, very similar things. Boundary setting is a huge one, is huge. Being able to say no, not people pleasing, taking things off your plate. Like a lot of times I think we try to let me do more yoga, or nothing wrong with yoga, but let's do more. More exercise, more. And a lot of times to start in the beginning of healing burnout, managing ADHD, it's not doing more, it's taking stuff off your plate. Where can I use paper plates for dinner instead of, it's not ecologically friendly, but can I do that for dinner instead of washing the dishes that are piling up in the sink for a month? You know, we're not talking long-term things, little short-term consistent changes.
Love it.
To heal and get well. And
I want to just first of all just pause and appreciate you, because maybe you don't get to revisit that moment enough. I want to call out, I want to call out to the audience that this was a moment where you listened to, you can call it your gut, your intuition, that you paid attention. Like, because people do keep ignoring these things. Like, and you so admit yourself, and I appreciate you for just being honest about that journey, because somebody out there needs to hear this. And because this, I always tell my clients, anxiety and depression is not exclusive to you. So don't.
You're not unique.
Yes, don't own it and say it's my anxiety, my depression. It's what this show is telling you is that people are willing to share their journeys, and it's up to you to listen and reflect. So that's the field that I want to promote in this show, is to make this more of a reflective, contemplative experience of listening to the guests, because that's the energy that I'm putting out there, that you're putting out there. Like, this is the wisdom that I've gained, and you are just being so real, because honestly, I mean, just look at the medical profession. We promote health, but a lot of the people who promote health are not healthy themselves. That said, it's not like I'm perfect myself.
Nor I.
But yes, but it's always, I think there has to be something said about teaching something and being an active process of working towards your ideal self. I think that's when our work transcends the transactional to relationship and healing.
Yeah.
And so that's why things like this, the show, things like presenting people like you, feed my mission more than if I just stayed the same, checked out, and did paperwork.
Yes.
Because you could have given that talk, but what did your spirit say, right? I mean, you could just read off from a slide.
Right.
But like, what kind of, like, what would that do to your heart, right? That actually would probably have harmed you because it was already kind of like calling Mayday.
Right.
Right? And I think what I love about the uniqueness of your story today is like you're sharing how that physical mind-body connection and how you are vulnerable enough to show people like this is what happens, and it could have been worse, quite honestly,
100%.
right?
Oh yeah.
Could have been. And I just want to say that this mind-body conference that I attend, they say that this low-level stress, not even like the extreme stress that you just shared, like low-level stress can cause inflammation in heart arteries,
yeah.
now documented in imaging studies. They basically took pictures of men who actually lived in lower income communities of Boston. This is a Massachusetts general study. And the size of their stress center correlated with the degree of inflammation in their heart arteries, which is the 1 out of 3 recipe to cause a heart attack. Like it's the one step. And then if you get unlucky and you get a blood clot plus plaque, that's a heart attack. So I'm just saying also from a gratitude standpoint, as horrible as that fainting and that bout of distress was,
Could have been much worse.
it could still have been much worse.
100%.
Right.
And to your point, as a therapist, and I'm sure as a doctor, like the interpersonal relationship is a huge part of healing. So yeah, we could have given talks like on a screen or whatnot, but the interpersonal relationships in general, which is why like working with someone like you is key, because that's a part of the healing, the connection. Connection is a huge part of healing burnout. If without that, it's not as fast.
I feel like if we allow it to support what you said about relationship, if we allow it, and this is an invitation to everybody watching, if we allow it to, the presence of a person you let in your life, whether it's a friend, family, therapist, you create an energy when you're with that person. And if you're conscious about it, then that can become a healing experience.
100%.
So I feel like because you come from a deeper place, it's a privilege for me.
Oh, it's mine. It's a privilege for me.
For me to have heard what was behind that January start of your private practice. I didn't know until today that was the story behind it. And I think I appreciate you all the more.
Likewise.
Thank you so much for joining us here at Mindful Me TV. We will have Sherri Crowley back, I'm sure. You have just enjoyed another episode of our Stories of Self-Care on Mindful Me. Please look for us on Facebook and YouTube on Mindful Me with Dr. Marga. Join us again.